marketing that they're unable to see anything else?
You might choose at times to only be in performance marketing. Depends what goals you're chasing after. There might be the next fundraise that you're going after, which requires you to be at a particular scale. And therefore, the business's goals, the brand's goals at that point of time are very limited, very short-sighted in nature. And that's what keeps you alive. So at that point of time, I might not even advise them to pick up brand marketing. It really depends what the goals of the organization are and where they are with where the market is at. If they have utilized a large portion of the low-hanging fruit, a large portion of the bottom funnel, that's when you would then start telling them that you need to start focusing on brand marketing. But it really depends on, on business to business, on client to client, on how you would advise them at that point of time, and depending on the goals they have.
Thanks. Nidhi, the consensus right now from the two is that there needs to be a balance. But for a traditional advertising agency with such a legacy like McCann, when you speak to these young brands, how do you advise them? What do you tell them?
So, unfortunately, I also have the same response because
I know, but coming from
yeah,
a legacy advertising, do they have like, hey, what can you tell us that we don't do that?
that's what while you're talking about startups being very hasty, that I need the money, I need to put in so much. We face another issue where we've got the legacy brands, I don't want to name them, wanting to go very young and very Gen Z appealing, and they want to be in every space. And at that point of time, they are willing to compromise on the branding part. Now, in my opinion, what happens is somewhere this whole conversation of branding versus performance marketing is actually a stretch on the budget. Ideally, in an ideal world, probably they want to do both. But just because you have to pick one, I think this is where the whole conversation comes in with, where I strongly believe that if you have the brand, if you have something which is as solid, that is when you start, figuring out in different basis. So whether it's the different cohorts, whether it's the different channels, you need to have the substance to actually be there. So, like a couple of examples which came up today also. So, if you take the likes of, say, Paperboard or Viva or even Suta for that matter, it was the story. It was something which was very different. While, of course, a lot of them did not even get into any sort of advertising for a really long time. What got people glued to them was the product, was the story, was it, and in a way it's branding, right? Probably it's a different way of looking at the brand. It's just changing the KPIs probably of branding, making it more relevant to the audience, which says, where is it, where is my money, what are the returns?
Storytelling, good storytelling is the bedrock of any successful brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you build storytelling for a startup that's steeped in performance marketing, that's measurement driven, data driven, number driven? How do you build storytelling for such an organization?
So any startup which comes in, I think the basis of that is that there is a story. It's not that anyone starts off just because they felt like. There is some hidden story. It is like somebody said, we named it Nagin because we saw the Nagin dance. Somebody named it, Mama Earth because they saw it from the point of view of a mother. So I think the startups, in fact, because the people, they are the ones who actually are consumers. Most of them, if you see the stories, are consumers who turned into entrepreneurs because they saw a genuine need which is there. And I think that is the story which, as an agency, we try to bring out. Because, like you're saying, people might be muddled up with, there's so much number, there's data, etc. But at the core of it, what is that one single consumer attention? What is that one single story that you really want to tell the world? That is what really makes the difference.
Fair enough. I'll agree with you on this one. And Arvind, you are the proverbial suit on this panel. You are the final decision taker. And you work across categories for so many years. When does performance marketing end and you have to bring in the balance for a young company? How to start with?
I think if I look at branding and performance, and I quite understand that startups, very small companies start with performance marketing. But what if you flip? Start with storytelling. Point. So I think in the end, if you want to build a sustainable brand, right? And not just do quarter se quarter tak. There is no substitute for long term. And brand building is hard work, right? Not for a moment undermining performance. For context, McDonald's.
Arvind, can you hold the mic a bit higher, please? Thank you so much.
And for context, McDonald's, we do fair bit of both branding and performance marketing. But branding is hard work. It's not just one token initiative in the whole year. It has to be done in and out every time. Now, why is that? The fact of the matter is, and it's very well proven, that a large number of customers, most customers out there are non-buyers or light buyers. What performance marketing does is just the high intent consumers get converted. So very simply put, there are a huge number of non-buyers and light buyers out there of the brand, of the category, who are not thinking of your brand. How to favorably dispose them, how to build memory associations, right? That is a primary. So much so that there are people like Les Binet and Peter Field who authored a 60-40, 60% branding, 40%. Obviously, they are the first to say it's different from context to context, category to category, and so on and so forth. The point I'm making is, it is not performance marketing is the heart and brand is a malai on top, right? If anything, I would say branding is key, and performance marketing converts the favorably disposed consumers, right? So for me, starting point would be how to build a brand. Then elements like storytelling, building distinctive assets, right? What I mean by distinctive assets, sometimes, for example, a brand like Beardo. Right? So it's so easy to come to mind when you think of taking care of your beard. So building those distinctive assets over a period of time, all of that is hard work, investments. You have to start off it from stage zero. And of course, performance marketing plays a very key role in bringing home the big.
I agree.